Amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is a beautiful festival and I'm so happy to be part of it. I was actually supposed to perform somewhere different and today, and that event fell through and I got asked to do this really last minute, so it came through in the best way possible. Okay, so I have a couple of poems I want to do, and I think that's it. My least favorite texture is wet breadcrumbs, and my least favorite sound is the ticking of clocks. My favorite smell is coffee in the morning, and my favorite type of coffee in the morning are the ones that are made by someone else. Overall, I feel like my life is a bit like a colouring book. So, red. I spent the majority of my life struggling to be heard, not because people wouldn't give me a platform, but the adverts, yellow. For a small person, I actually have a huge problem with authority, but rebellion never came naturally to me. You see, I often have a yellow ball of anxiety that bounces in my belly. If you see me on the street, do me a favour, remind me to breathe. Pink. I spent years drinking in the sugar of faux femininity, as though the more makeup I could hide behind, the more people wouldn't see me. And also, on the subject of sugar, I also believe that a good cup of tea is not the answer, but definitely improves most things. Green. 3 facts about me. One, my friend calls me Tiny Chili because I'm little, but I'm big. Two, my 2008 taste of MySpace music was better than any of yours. And three, I spent the last few years gouging out words from my belly, pulling the truth out with my teeth, and only sometimes did I like the taste. Orange. Welcome to my body. I have eyes full of sunsets and late nights and bones that creak under the weight of years of being told that I'm too sensitive. Well, excuse me if the shoe fits. You'll often see me in the corner at parties, holding fistfuls of nostalgia, trying to cram sepia memories into pockets and drawing pictures into the dust of the carpet. I have a heart that's fractured in places, but it beats just fine, so that's okay with me. And I have a tongue that's cut with too many apologies. My best friend told me that I'm constantly blossoming, but sometimes I feel this earth is rotting beneath my feet. I'm Lyndsay. I delete a lot of poetry. If you saw my room, you'd know I like to throw things away, and you could probably write a novel based on the things that I don't actually say. I'm cautious by nature, and I like to cling to certainty. I once carved a home into an empire of safety before I realised that I am both the shelter and the storm. I sometimes nap before I sleep and a snack before I eat. I'm getting closer to accepting the fact that my life won't be full of stability, but it will be full of adventure. And I think that's even better. I'm never lost for words and I'm usually late. Awkward in person, but sometimes confident on stage. I see stories as fireflies that run through my veins, and all I have to do is bleed onto the page. Purple. I know it sounds bad, but I worry I'm going to be the mum who doesn't let the kids decorate the tree on Christmas. See, perfectionism is a purple coloured thread stitched into all of my corners. It might not be apparent at first, but trust me, it rears its head when I'm stretched. You see, it's possible to be paralysed by the need to be perfect. I also have a tendency to push people away. The plus side is that I never settle. The downside is that my heart is still wrapped in some of its original packaging, but I hope that soon I'll get to rip off the rest of the plastic. Blue. Apologies are branded into the flesh of my tongue, even when I know I'm not in the wrong. I guess becoming sure of yourself is not a short road, but long. Rainbow. I believe that a person's gender shouldn't have to be worn like armor to stave off an attack. White, once upon a time, I became a princess of my past and a queen of fresh starts. I'm a mixture of a little insecurity and a lot of authenticity, but I can honestly say that this right now is my most favorite version of me. And I'm not looking for an upgrade, so if I show you the rest of my scars, will you stay? Okay, that is colouring book. It will never not be weird to do it on Zoom, will it? will never not be weird. I co-host an event called Lovely Word. That's a poetry night every month, and yeah, we've been going online for a year now, and still doesn't not feel weird. Okay, so a couple of different poems. A bit of a sad story. I was seeing someone a while ago, and we broke up. And you know these things happen, but I had a few different jobs at the time, and I'd most recently started working as a Christmas elf. And I don't know if you've ever seen like a fully grown elf cry before, but it's pretty bleak. I think I did this poem the last time I did something for We Want Women as well, but this is called Lost Things, and I like to tell the elf sad story before I do the poem. My friends basically, I was so sad that my friends referred to it as elf sad because it was like so sad that it warranted its whole new level of sadness. So now if we talk about like if we talk about people we know, we'll always be like, oh, you know, they weren't elf sad, but they were like quite sad. So yeah, that's my elf sad story. And that's got nothing to do with the poem other than the fact that it's a breakup poem, but it goes like this. Have you ever loved someone so much you let them leave? Let them sidestep out of your life ever so seamlessly? I wish I could quote Emily Dickinson and say, I wish you a kinder sea, but like leather and teeth. Some things in this world just aren't meant to be that sweet. Ultimately, we're both worthy of being loved properly, but I'll tell you this. You could have had all of my poetry. For now, I'll remember you howling with wine in your blood and a full moon in your heartbeat. In many ways, I feel like you saw the woman I could be, but we're on different pages, books, bookcases, even different libraries. I'm a mile up in the sky, and you're 1,000 kisses deep. And to be honest, we're just superheroes with a lot of anxiety, so it's time to move on. Take advice from the animal kingdom and snap the necks of the young who won't make it. Because our situation is certainly not a time for us to be squeamish, so today I took a breath. Today I divorced my ghosts. Today I performed an exorcism on the very depths of my soul, but because of you, I'm learning to leave myself love notes. Because of you, I no longer see my body as a hand grenade. Despite the fire that's in your eyes, you taught me to feel safe. To move forward, I'd say to get your hands dirty with life and consume more of the things that fill you. But to close up wounds that cut this deep, well, that's not something you can rush through. My mother tells me that I need to know this world is tough. Now I look both ways when I cross the road because this was dangerous enough. And does anyone know the exact difference in which two magnets can no longer feel an attraction? Because I've tried trains and hotel rooms, but I can still feel you. I've tried not talking on the telephone, but I can still hear you. I know when you've had a bad day because the sky looks dark and thundery. And I know when you've had a good day because the trees, they genuinely smile at me. I'm not entirely sure how you're controlling the weather around me, but I don't question it because I know this life is full of mystery. I've tried salt baths for days, but my bones won't stop repeating your name. Teaching my body to forget about you is a full-time job these days. Tell me this. Does your car sometimes circle my house the way my thoughts trace the outline of your name? Does your finger hover over the bell the way mine hovers over deleting your name from my phone book? When you give in and drive back home, tell me, darling, do you feel lonesome? Last night I went to bed with artificial feelings. Woke up with a Coca-Cola heart. But despite me lying to myself, the truth is that I love you. And I'm sorry if it seemed like I forgot. For now, I want to say goodbye in the sweetest way because I can be good at staying gone. So I wish you a lifetime of butterflies. I'll forever have a sunshine heart. To quote A.A. Milne, how lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard. Thank you. That is Lost Things. I'm going to take a sip of water. This is genuinely not product placement, but I made this sticker. It's a line of poetry. It's holographic. If you want one, hit me up. I'm just happy that they're out in the world, to be honest, and showing off at this point. That's really what that was about. Okay. It's so weird not seeing faces. I should have introduced myself. So my name's Lyndsay Price. I am a poet, spoken word artist. If you're interested in following me, it's Lyndsay Writes Poems, pretty much on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of the places. I actually run an event called Scribble and Stretch with my friend who's a yoga teacher, and it is a weekly class of journaling and yoga. So if you're into something a little bit more mindful and self-carey, then let me know and I will give you details. But it's really lovely, to be honest. And we don't take ourselves too seriously. It's like we still have a laugh. So I recommend. Okay, let's do Bloom, because kind of feels like a self-love, women's month, all of those things. So this is a poem called Bloom, and it's one of the first poems I've ever actually written. So it goes back a while. Need to grow. And if the answer lies in materials or situations, instead of sunshine, water, and patience, then I think you're evolving in the wrong way. You see, my inner self is more like a distant cousin to me, someone I forget the name of at weddings, someone I can never seem to remember to send a thank you card to. And to her, I can only say, I'm sorry. I'm here to say, I'm here to stay, baby. I know I've had some problems with commitment lately, but my head was just in a different space. I know I said some things I didn't mean, but that was just the alcohol speaking. I know at times I treated you as though you were less than a temple, less than an empress, less of a safe house and more of a burden, but now I'm here, holding the foundations of this home together, so bloom. Let me hold your handlebars and guide you through. I'm sorry that your sickness was my disgust. I'm sorry that your heart weeping led to my compassion giving up. And I'm sorry for cheating on you with people who never did my soul any good. My arms never seemed strong enough to carry the both of us. I'm sorry I denied you of a chance to speak your mind. I'm sorry I told you you would never be good enough. I'm sorry for seeking fulfillment outside of the two of us. For so long, I tried to block you out, but now I'm forever having spiritual experiences in coffee shops. Being connected and plugged in is hard. But now I've seen the alternatives. I wouldn't change this for the world because you found the hollow inside my bones and you forced sunshine out. Thank you for encouraging me to take my time through life. Thank you for persuading me to care about the issues I felt I didn't have the time for. And thanks for knocking on the inside of my head and making me drag myself out of bed at 3 a.m. to write those poems down. If truth be told, I don't know what I'd do without you. Sincerely, me. And if my inner self could speak, I think this is what she would tell me. I know that stretching can hurt, but no one's ever needed medication from growing pains. No one said this wouldn't be painful, but I can promise you that it's necessary. Open up your furled up arms and tilt your head toward the light. Let the wind take you to where you need to be, and know that other people's beauty won't diminish your own. Baby girl, you have so much room left to grow. Let the wisdom creep over your body like ivy. Take your cue from nature and be like the pine trees. Sink your roots into the ground as far as they will go. And when people try to chop you down, set fire to your leaves or flatten you in the name of putting up concrete in your place, you tell them that you are made from sunlight, from water, and patience, and you can never be destroyed. Thank you. That was Bloom, and that was a letter to my inner self at a time where I felt like I had neglected her ever so slightly. Can people access Scribble and Stretch through Saltwater Poetry website? You can, but the best thing to do would be to follow me on Instagram at this point, or Facebook. We're on a few weeks hiatus, so if you want information about when the next course is launching, it's best to just message me through there, or you can message me through the contact form, but there isn't a bookable link at this point in time. Thank you. So okay, let me do the poem for my grandpa. My grandpa passed away last year, and he actually left a house to my mum and me. And because I'm an only grandchild on that side, it meant that I got to move into his old home, which is really beautiful, really sad, really strange, a huge blessing, but something that I'm always trying to navigate. So I wrote a poem about him in August, and yeah, it goes like this. This is the only poem that I'm having to glance down at because usually I'm completely off. I memorize everything, but this is fairly new for me. So, my grandpa didn't say I love you, but he used to grow me a pumpkin from his plot every Halloween. Didn't say I love you, but insisted on calling me Tillyman up until I was 30. Didn't say I love you, but finished every call with "Are you okay for money?" He planted dahlias in the autumn. They were 6 feet tall by spring. Everything he did it meticulously. 95 years of perfectionism, and he wound up with an artist granddaughter like me. Now, deprived of his presence, I thrive off remembering summertime in his garden. Me with hamame rosewater, shelling peas and string beans. My grandpa never said I love you, but on every visit as a kid would press into my hand a stack of newspapers with the cartoon pages saved. Never said I love you, but one Christmas day I stormed out the house after an argument on mental health in the modern age, and he never once held it against me. My grandpa didn't say I love you, but he left behind a house for me. So now I press my feet into the earth he nurtured, in a garden filled with apple-scented memories. My grandpa could identify nearly every tree and the wood it would then make. Once bought a meat grinder so it could make better birdseed. I didn't know it was possible to make holes from something that once pulverized meat. My grandpa used to feed his fox with dog food from Aldi. One day I walked onto the patio to see a wood pigeon resting on its outstretched sleeve, and my giddy feet scared it away. If you were here, I would tell him that I've been trying my best to tread lightly, in the hope that I too can one day lull an animal into feeling that safe. My grandpa was a carpenter by trade, but tucked away we find journals and scrapbooks filled with pictures and tickets from every country he's ever been. My grandpa was sentimental in his own way. So what a waste it would be if I were caught up on the words he did or didn't say. I don't think we need people to communicate exactly the same. In fact, I think that's where the problem may be. My grandpa didn't say I love you, but he spent every day trying to show me. That is a poem for my grandpa. It's literally just called Poem for my grandpa. Okay, I have time for maybe two more if I'm fast. What do I want to do? Let's do a spell to Conject because that's fun. Yeah, I wrote a couple of new ones recently. I was lucky enough that I got onto an artist residency called Queer Bodies, that was funded by Homotopia, and they really challenged me to just write. And I'm really thankful for that because otherwise I would just take a year to write one poem. So anytime I'm part of a scheme or a system that's like prodding me, I'm really, really happy. Yeah, I should say on the poem for my grandpa as well, it recently got made into kind of like a live jam with music underneath, and it's a project called Open Collab. So if there's any poets in the audience that would like their poems turned into beautiful tracks with music behind that's improvised live, they're called Open Collab on YouTube and Instagram, and they're brilliant. And yeah, this is a spell to conjure my early noughties teenage self. Part 1. Arrange the following in a circle. 1 Lancome juicy tube in the colour raspberry. 1 Diamante drop butterfly belly ring in the colour silver. 1 pink Game Boy, and a broken Furby, eyes half closed. 2. Optional but most effective if you could also include roll-on body glitter gel in the colour iridescent, a Playboy pencil case which bizarrely none of my teachers took away, a groovy chick bedspread, some Beanie Babies with the label Y2K, and a mascara tube in the colour blue. 3. As an offering, we would recommend a serving of Archers and lemonade or a single shot of Malibu. 4. To increase the likelihood of bringing back past selves, we suggest using sounds that trigger certain memories. It might be helpful to have on hand a Panic at the Disco or Fall Out Boy CD, the sound of an MSN Messenger account signing in and out, or any 90s R&B. 5. For the ritual itself, we recommend wearing a neon string vest, velour, or any type of temporary transfer tattoo. 6. It's helpful to learn a few moves from a dance mat to help create more of a mood. 7. Sacrifices are not necessary, but if desired, we recommend this forgotten about Tamagotchi. 8. Add into the relics a handful of tear streaked journals and the same sex couple on cycle 5 of America's Next Top Model that generated some deep questions on sexuality, and your spell is almost complete. 9. If successfully conjured, it's likely she'll need feeding immediately. Part 2. A banishing spell for my early noughties teenage self. 1. Now that she's resurrected and coming to the realization that life is in fact not an American high school movie, it's likely she'll be angry. 2. You may notice the smell of burning. We ask you not to be alarmed. It is simply the scent of over-processed hair meeting a Babyliss hair steamer. While crimped in places, it's imperative that the rest of her natural waves remain dried up and straight. 3. Snip the strings on her Morgan PE bag if you wish to slow her down. 4. If aggressive, you may wish to serve up some form of comfort food. While preferences may vary depending on the time of day, we find you can't go far wrong with potato smileys and sunny day. Or, failing that, her mum's chicken broccoli bake. The condensed milk she adds can be found in a can. 5. If you ignore the straight inner burns on her middle finger and scrape off some of the layers of matte mousse, you'll find she's actually quite pretty. 6. If you can persuade her to put down the tweezers and give her eyebrows a break, you may be able to change history as we know it. This is for advanced conjurers only. 7. In the most severe of circumstances, you may need to drive a stake through an R.L. Stein point horror book, preferably Dream Date, Camp Fear, or anything from Goosebumps. 8. If needing a distraction, she'll respond well to a BlackBerry phone. 9. Once successfully banished, be sure to close the circle and put your naughties relics away. Fold up any Spice Girl posters and ensure the images are facing down. Close any windows and be sure to check your skin for any signs of rave paint. This must be thoroughly removed. So that is Spell to Conject My Early Noughties Teenage Self. I enjoy it. It brings me back. I love a bit of nostalgia. And I'm going to quickly do my final piece, which is called The Great Unknown. And yeah, I was dating someone a while ago, and we ended up having a lot of distance between us, both physical and emotional. I tend to date people where it's happened a few times where one of us has travelled and it's created a riff or a problem, and it got me thinking about this concept of space, whether it be physical space or just dating someone who feels distant. And this is called The Great Unknown. In this era, we don't do lockets, but in my head, there's a tacky heart-shaped frame containing a mental snapshot of you leaning against the wall smoking, looking the kind of pretty that's honestly intimidating. Being with her has simply been a process of shedding. I'm not usually a fan of the word romance, but even you telling me something boring is my favourite kind of love scene. For me, the magic's been in learning to love again through the lens of myself, pulling out the thorns from my bulletproof vest, exposing everything to the light and then taking a breath. It's time to give my heart a break from the stagnation and sterile air, and this time I want to diffuse the narrative that love has to hurt. Being with her is the love spell, an incantation of trust comb honey through my hair, but now some time has passed, and what's present is your absence, and I'm left with the faded remains of these imprints. And you're hard to forget, because every time you look at me, it's like you see the map of everywhere my heart's been. I knew I could write a book of all pink pages with flowers pressed in between. At night, I trace your name into the starlight with my exhales. I miss the dust on your eyelashes and the dirt under your nails. I know how I feel. But promises were never made. Now I'm living in this hazy place full of maybes and smoky greys, and time is disintegrating. I would swallow swords if it got you here any faster, but I make friends with the concept of waiting. In reality, the great unknown is terrifying me. But maybe for now, this is just how it has to be. The truth is, I look for you in every flower I meet. Last night, I sang your name into the ocean. Did you hear me? I could have sworn that I was loud enough, but my barbed wire voice has a tendency to be weak. In reality, the great unknown is terrifying me. You've gone away, you're searching. But what is it that you seek? I don't know how far this love will grow. All I know is that we planted seeds. Okay. That was the great unknown. That is pretty much my set finished. That was like the fastest half hour of my entire life. And I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much. I'm definitely going to be sticking around for the rest of the festival. Feel free to message me, chat to me, all of the things. And just huge thanks for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure.